a man disguised as security or potentially a law enforcement officer, a guy who put on a badge, tried to make himself look like an actual security professional who was armed with multiple firearms, was just arrested trying to approach Robert F. Kennedy Jr. at a campaign stop in Los Angeles. According to the LAPD, according to Kennedy's team, the man claimed to be part of Kennedy's security team, told RFK Jr.'s actual protectors with urgency that he needed to be taken to the candidate immediately. Observing that the man had a handgun, Kennedy's security team removed the man from the area, isolated and surrounded him, then notified LAPD. He was spotted and detained before this speech. That's good. Man was wearing 2 shoulder holsters with loaded pistols, spare ammunition magazines, carrying a U.S. Marshal badge on a lanyard and a belt clip, federal ID, and identified himself as a member of Kennedy's team. Then LAPD comes in. LAPD takes custody of a second man who came to the campaign with the first guy who got arrested. Protectors observed that that man was seeking access to the event, had a backpack, and that backpack had at least one other handgun, multiple knives, and some extra ammunition. Good thing that Kennedy's team caught them. Kennedy has been requesting Secret Service protection. He's a presidential candidate, sort of a major presidential candidate. Presidential candidates who reach a significant degree of notoriety and profile are afforded Secret Service protection. Bobby Kennedy has not been. Joe Biden has turned down that request, even as people who sure look like assassins show up to his campaign events. Now, you might say, well, there's some weirdos. Weirdos show up to a lot of political events. I think there should be a rule. If your father and uncle are both assassinated while running for president and serving as president respectively, and then you run for president, I think you automatically should be entitled to Secret Service protection. Don't you? Some have pointed out, well, a lot of good the Secret Service did to his father and his uncle. Fair enough. It seems to me completely insane that Joe Biden won't offer Secret Service protection to a guy who's polling 20% against him, whose family has been picked off by political assassins for 70 years. Doesn't that seem a little strange? I'm glad Kennedy has a good security team, and I'm all for shrinking government spending. But I don't know. I think, especially now that you had what sure seems to be an assassin or two show up to the Kennedy event, I'm willing for a few of my tax dollars to go to protect the major presidential candidate and Democrat threat to Joe Biden. I think as we send $100 gazillion dollars overseas to Vladimir Zelensky to take on the Ruskies, I think we can spend, what's it going to cost? Like a few $100,000 to stop another Kennedy from being assassinated. Seems like a good investment to me. Right now, go to goodranchers.com, use code Knowles. We all have very busy schedules, soccer practice, science fairs, prepping for the holidays, etc. There's good news. You can take one big thing off your plate by putting great meat on your plate with Good Ranchers. You care about what your family eats, and so does Good Ranchers. That's why they've spent years building relationships with local farms to source the best 100% American beef, chicken, pork, and now wild-caught seafood. They've added seafood to the mix. The best of the land and sea can now get conveniently delivered to your door. And right now, they're offering 2 years of free ground beef to anyone who subscribes. That's a $480 value at a locked-in price. 100% American meat. It's just insane. No one else is offering anything like this. And no one else is offering anything like this at the quality that Good Ranchers brings you. I adore it. I eat it multiple times a week. And I would eat it more than that if I weren't traveling quite so much. So head on over to goodranchers.com. Use code Knowles. $25 off and free ground beef for 2 years. Subscribe to any box to lock in your price on America's best meat for 2 whole years as well. Goodranchers.com. Use code Knowles for over $500 in savings. Subscribe to Good Ranchers, American meat delivered. Right now, text Knowles to 200-300. For most homeowners, window replacement is not something they've done before. For many, it is not something they want to do, but something they have to do. If you've put off replacing the windows in your home because they're too expensive, I've got great news. You can now get a free in-home window consultation and a free price quote from Renewal by Andersen. Renewal by Andersen's signature renewal service is committed to giving you the best customer service possible, supported by the best people in the industry, a superior process, and an exclusive product. I got an email from a carpenter who told me, said, Michael, I heard you do a read for Renewal by Andersen. I'm just telling you, I go into houses, they have the best work of any windows that I see. And coincidentally, I have a cousin who works for them and has been telling me about Renewal by Andersen for years, even before they were on the show. So right now they're offering a free in-home or virtual consultation on durable, quality, affordable windows or patio doors for $0 down, 0 payments, and 0 interest for 1 year. Text Knowles, KNWLES, to 200-300 for your free consultation to save $375 off every window and $750 off every door. These savings will not last long, so be sure to check it out by texting Knowles to 200-300. That's Knowles to 200-300. Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out. Go to windowappointmentnow.com for full offer details. Do you remember a story? This was from months and months ago, I guess over a year ago, that Catholic schools in Canada had been murdering Indigenous children. That was the story. This was 2 years ago. A tribe in Western Canada announced that they had engaged in some ground-penetrating radar investigation and discovered anomalies in the soil around the schools. And what were those anomalies that they suspected were mass graves, where these Catholics had been educating the Indigenous children at residential schools. And immediately, all of the liberal establishment in Canada flew into action. The Prime Minister lowered flags to half staff. The Pope issued an apology all the way from the Vatican. And then, this is the most important part of the liberal establishment springing into action. Activists started burning down Catholic churches. Because don't forget, the liberal power structure, it's not just the elected people, it's not just the media, it's not just the teachers. There's also the paramilitary wing. In America, that's BLM, that's Antifa. And in Canada, you have these activists, same kinds of people. They burned churches all over Canada. Statues were covered in graffiti. Statues were pulled down, Catholic statues. For 2 years, this was going on because the Catholic schools had been murdering all these Indigenous kids and burying them in mass graves. And then we turned out that wasn't true. Then we found out, oopsie daisy, yeah, none of that was true. 2 years of investigations, zero evidence that any of that ever happened. No mass graves. None. Now, what did happen is the churches burned down. And what did happen is the flags were lowered and the statues were pulled down. And what did happen is an actual blood libel was committed against Catholics in Canada by the liberal establishment. People who were going to those churches, they don't have churches to go to now. But oopsie daisy. No harm, no foul. Moving on. 68 churches in Canada were desecrated, damaged, or destroyed. And is anyone going to be held responsible for that? No. Is Trudeau, Justin Castro, the leader of Canada, is he going to be prosecuted for spreading this blood libel? No. Any of the activists? No. You know what they're going to do? They're going to move on to the next hoax. And I tell you, the craziest thing is going to be whatever the new bogus excuse is, the end result is going to be the same. Statues are going to come down, churches are going to burn, traditions are going to be upended, and the liberal project is just going to go marching on. This is this tribal chief, Derek Nepanak. They've excavated 14 locations under the church. They got nothing. Boy, what a great clip that was now. Make sure that you subscribe, ring the bell. Make sure you get all the updates for the Michael Knowles Show YouTube channel. See you next time.